Coming up on the CodeBet NRL, a daily Round 6 preview coming your way for this Easter weekend. All games broken down, tips galore coming out of both Phil and myself. My best bet is the Roosters. Phil, what have you got for us?
I like the Roosters as well, and honestly, I don't know if these betting agencies know what they're doing with some of the odds that they're putting out for games this weekend. There's a couple of blowouts which we'll get to, but then also can they please put some respect on the Warriors' name already? Surely they've proven themselves to you all out there, but no. So we'll get into that. There's a couple of real opportunities this Easter weekend.
Yeah, I think the Warriors may be slowly becoming my second favourite team in the league, but it's CodeBet NRL. Check it out. It's real good. Welcome to the CodeBet Daily NRL preview. Round 6 coming your way this week. It is Wednesday, April 5th. We're getting in nice and early this week because our video producer, Holiday Geraldo, is off tomorrow and he's going away for Easter to get wine drunk. Phil is in an undisclosed sound location there. Look at that. If you can see on the video, it's soundproof so he can yell, rant and rave about probably St. George and Brighton and whatever else. How are you, Phil?
Exactly right, mate. Exactly right. I've got the Green Bay kit on. Not a lot of news out of Wisconsin, unfortunately. I'm waiting for this Aaron Rodgers trade like you wouldn't believe. Waking up every morning, checking the phone. Please tell me he's a former Green Bay Packer. Not to be as of yet, but yes, we can rant and rave in our soundproof booths around the end of WrestleMania later on in the show if we need to.
Yeah, still that one's going to take a while for me to get over, but let's rip straight in because we've got some ripping games of football this Easter weekend. Round 6 kicks off here in Melbourne tomorrow night with the Melbourne Storm at $1.78 taking on the Roosters $2.16. I'm going to get in nice and early. I think the Roosters are good odds. They came to Melbourne last year and won. $2.16 seems a bet.
Yeah, I think there must be some form of overreaction that James Tedesco isn't available for the Roosters in this game. Yeah. But, I mean, you have to also consider that the Storm are still without their first-choice fullback, as they have been all year, admittedly. They did a good job on the Rabbitohs last week, the Melbourne Storm, but this is a really good Roosters team. And basically the same team that beat the Parramatta Eels pretty comfortably last week goes down to Melbourne. But you sub in Joey Manu, who wasn't available last week, for James Tedesco. Yeah. He's the second best fullback in the world behind James
plays
Tedesco.
On a wing.
So he'll slot in at fullback, and I actually don't think it hinders them too much. Manu offers slightly different things, but he offers almost as much as Teddy, maybe minus a fraction of cohesiveness. I've straight up just tipped the Sydney Roosters in all my tipping comps as well. So, to get them at $2.16 on BetR, I think, frankly, is one of my bets of the week.
I like it as well. And just a quirky stat for the punters out there, the Roosters have won their last 8 games under lights. There we go. Canterbury take on South Sydney on a Friday night. $3.60 for the Dogs. South's $1.30 here. This is at 4 o'clock Friday afternoon. 7 of Canterbury's last 8 matches have gone under the total points line. And given the way that game went last weekend, that kind of looks a bet once again.
Yeah, potentially. And I think we might have to start treating the Bulldogs like we've been treating the Warriors of the last few weeks. Yep. We've been cleaning up on the market being slow to react to the Warriors, of course, a team that went the full distance with the Bulldogs only a couple of weekends ago. And the Bulldogs have been given no chance in this game, which I find quite surprising. Don't get me wrong, I've tipped the Rabbitohs head-to-head, of course, but the fact that Ladbrokes are offering the Bulldogs 11.5 point start at $1.90 is just kind of baffling in my opinion. This is not a bad Bulldogs team. This is obviously a traditional Good Friday matchup in that key, 4 p.m. time slot between these two proud Sydney clubs. And to think that Canterbury Bankstown aren't going to get within 2 converted tries, tell them you're dreaming. Bulldogs all the way with 11.5 point start. We don't really have to worry about the head-to-head too much. I just think the Bulldogs can keep this one a little bit closer than that.
That's what I had written down. I thought the Dogs were good last week when winning by that point against the Cowboys, and just thinking that 11.5 seems too much. And I love that it's at 4 o'clock. It's right at the time on Good Friday where you're like, God damn it, I need something to do. Football coming on your screens. How good. The second Friday night game is up in Queensland. The North Queensland Cowboys are $1.33. The Dolphins, after getting smoked by the Dragons last week, geez, I got that one wrong. They're $3.80. The line is between 10.5 and 11.5, wherever you like, wherever you look, that is.
Yeah, look, I didn't get everything right last week, but one thing I did say was tip the Dragons to beat the Dolphins without Sean O'Sullivan, and that obviously proved to be one of the things I got right last week. And the reality is the Dolphins aren't going to have O'Sullivan for some time yet. They're now without Milford as well. You have to add to consideration. So they're down to their fourth string option in the halves with rookie Isaiah Katoa and now Cody Nikorima coming in, who's a decent footballer, but he's not the type of half which is going to help you win a game. He might help you win a game by more if you're on the front foot, but the Cowboys minus 10.5, $1.95 on TopSport. I think that's pretty hard to look past. You would have to think that the Dolphins will bounce back and make a decent account of themselves in an all-Queensland affair up at Queensland Country Bank Stadium in Townsville. But that said, the Cowboys welcome back Scott Drinkwater at fullback after his 3-match suspension. And Todd Payton, their coach, has admitted that he is probably the most important cog in that Cowboys machine. So I think the Cowboys are able to pull away late in this game. The Dolphins are just missing too many key contributors. Sean O'Sullivan being front and centre to their early season form as well. What he was offering in terms of just organising that team around the park, I think is we're going to see just how priceless that has been over the next few weeks. So I think the Cowboys can cover the 10.5. TopSport offering $1.95. That's where I'm leaning.
Yeah, I was thinking that as well. I think the gloss is kind of off for the Dolphins after that performance last week. The Cowboys really need to bounce back after that loss last week and could do so at home. We move to Saturday, Penrith. Holy crap, they were good last week. They're $1.35. Manly, $3.60. Look, Manly going to struggle because they have to travel across the bridge all the way out to Penrith.
Yeah, exactly. And look, Penrith have had the Seagulls measure recently. A Manly team which has a fully fit Tom Trbojevic and DCE fit and available as well are a very good team, and they can beat good teams as well. But Penrith just are at that next level for mine.
Yeah.
I think this line's a tricky one, 9.5. Panthers minus 9.5 is tempting at $1.91 with Bet365. Look, yeah, I think the Panthers get this one done. If I have to, gun to my head, I'm taking the minus 9.5, and I think the Panthers can cover. But I just think that this game goes over the 42.5 total. Manly's defense was just shocking against Newcastle last week. The fact that they let a really, really average Knights team score over 30 points was just quite gobsmacking. The Panthers obviously put 50 plus through the Raiders last week, who were pretty listless. I think the Panthers can rack up a total as well. That's not to say that Manly can't score a few points as well. Penrith's defence is much stronger than Newcastle's ever will be, but I still think that this one can get over the 42.5, $1.87 with TopSport.
I found the weirdest stat ever. Reigning premiers have won each of their last 17 games played in April. That was the most outstanding stat I've ever heard, so I'm going with that. But also, Penrith have covered the line in 14 of their last 16 against Manly. So let's go with that. That minus 9.5 looking like a pretty good bet. We move to Saturday night, and it's sort of the same as last weekend. Just replace the West Tigers with the Raiders. The Broncos, $1.18. The Raiders, $5.80. The line is 14.5.
Yeah, this Canberra team, we have jumped off them so quickly this year.
Yep.
They've been
What's going on?
They're one of the most disappointing teams of the season for mine so far. They couldn't beat Newcastle. They couldn't beat the Dolphins. They were 2 times where I did tip the Raiders. I wasn't stupid enough to back them against the Panthers last week, and I certainly won't be stupid enough to think that they can even get to within 14.5 points at Suncorp Stadium against the unbeaten Brisbane Broncos, who are full strength. Reece Walsh at the back has just added so much to this team in attack. He is fit and firing on all cylinders. Selwyn Cobbo out on the wings with Katoni Staggs, who for a long time I've been saying Herbie Farnworth is the best centre at the Brisbane Broncos. I'm not ready to jump off that ship just yet, but Katoni Staggs is finally giving Herbie a good run for his money, which is what we've been waiting to see for 3+ years now out of Staggs on the right edge, and they're just fit and firing. We've mentioned the impact that Pat Carrigan is having, with this side, just getting them around the park, and in terms of winning that middle third arm wrestle. Payne Haas, he's gone to another level this season as well.
Yeah.
So you add all of that together, and I think it's Brisbane by close to 20+. So I'm taking, the Broncos minus 14.5, $1.91 with Bet365.
Brisbane have also won their last 6 at home against the Raiders. So if you needed another little tick, you found it there. Now, quite possibly the worst Sunday game this year. Gold Coast, $1.82. St. George, $2.10. I need to complain about the Sunday programming once again because this is terrible.
Yeah, and look, we've spoken about this Dragons team at length, obviously, this year. They're good for 6 or 7 wins this season.
They've got one.
They've got they're all floor. No ceiling, all floor. They are probably the furthest team away from winning an NRL premiership because it's Dad's Army.
Even further than the West Tigers?
Yes,
Oof.
Even further than the West Tigers because they've got some serious regeneration to account for. Where are their youngsters that are emerging? Zach Lomax was fine against the Dolphins last week. Tyrrell Sloan's a good talent, but do I trust Anthony Griffin to get the best out of him? No. And that can be the said can be same about the other youngsters coming through who are just being, who are slipping through the cracks to other clubs as well. But the reality is the Dragons were good enough to beat the Titans earlier on this season. It is weird that, it's round 6 and we're getting our first rematch of the 2023 NRL season. But that said, the Gold Coast Titans, they're coming off the bye. They haven't been trustworthy, but they haven't been awful either.
Yep.
Their loss to the Dragons in round 2 was probably their most disappointing display of the season so far. I think at home on the Gold Coast at Seabus Super Stadium, they can make amends for that. So I will jump on them at $1.82, Bet365. You know what? I think they can beat the Dragons by more than 1.5 points. So
yeah,
I'm fine taking the Titans minus 1.5 at $1.91 on Bet365.
Yeah, no, I agreed with you there. I just thought, St. George, they got their win there. But Gold Coast at home, when they're favourites, have a pretty decent record. So the 1.5 seems pretty good to me because it's very rare you see a 1-point win. We saw it last week and we saw a draw last week, but let's go with Gold Coast to get it done. Sunday, 6:15, Newcastle, they're $2. New Zealand, $1.85. The line, 1.5, which again is the bookies going, I don't know, can New Zealand do it again? But it's Newcastle.
Well, for days now, I've been thinking that I was going to have to come on this show and go to my keyboard and tap out my betting preview saying that finally we've seen the markets adjust and that the Warriors do deserve some respect because we've been cleaning up for 3 weeks in a row on them just completely disrespecting the 2023 Warriors. We are starting to hear more after their big win over Cronulla last weekend that Andrew Webster was probably the pick of the supporting coaches to emerge from Ivan Cleary's shadow, and potentially that he was the one that the Bulldogs might maybe should have gone after as opposed to Cam Serraldo, and that Andrew Webster, he's the one with some serious rugby league IQ, and the fact that they're only minus 1.5 against a stupidly average Newcastle Knights team is just crazy for mine. So we're going to have to win more money on everyone underselling the 2023 Warriors once again. So I'll take them minus the 1.5 on Ladbrokes at $1.96. It's my bet of the week. When are we going to start to realise that this Warriors team are good? Their only loss was in Sydney in round 2 against the Roosters, the team that we think are going to win the premiership.
Yeah.
So when does this madness end?
That's good. Let us keep making free money off the New Zealand Warriors because, I thought this was one of the better bets at the weekend at the price because I don't see Newcastle backing it up. And as we've seen, the Warriors can travel and win. They can win at Cronulla. They can very easily win here at Newcastle because they ain't good.
the Knights' record at home is shocking too. That win the other week to the Raiders was, I think that ended like a 6-game winless streak at McDonald Jones Stadium. There's just so much weird energy going on up at Newcastle with their fan base right now. Like they keep turning up. And not
it's because there's nothing else to do in Newcastle. That's why.
Well, potentially, but I'm one of those fans that of certain teams that prefers to protest with my feet. And Newcastle are barely putting a foot right as far as the administration goes. Their roster management right now. Now they've got to face the reality of trading away one of their really promising young front rowers to Cronulla. In return for a 29-year-old Lockie Miller playing fullback. And now all of a sudden they're going to confront a situation where they're realising that maybe we just need to play Kalen Ponga at fullback to, best protect him when he returns from his latest, bout of HIA concerns. So, look, Newcastle aren't doing anything right. The fans keep turning up and they're going to continue to be disappointed.
Yeah, see, I'm similar to you. When the Swans were just average in 2019, I simply stopped wasting my money by going to games. I watched the last, I think it was 4 home games on my TV because I was like, I can't do this anymore. So Newcastle, I don't know what you're going to do there, but it's the same with, I suppose, the A-League fans too. But of note, Newcastle has failed to cover the line in 10 of its last 13 home matches. So even the Cowboys at -1.5 at $1.96 seems a decent bet. Let's move on to the final game of the weekend, Easter Monday. It's not going to be a happy Monday for the West Tigers. They're $4.50. Parramatta Eels are $1.23. The West Tigers have lost 10 on the bounce. I
So last year, mid-season, the Tigers pulled off one of the upsets of the year by beating Parramatta. And I think that game was at CommBank Stadium even as well. Don't quote me on the location, but look, if you probably speak to a few Parramatta fans, they will be nervous about this game.
But that just seems to be Parramatta every week. It's like being an Arsenal fan at the moment. We're waiting to just bottle it.
Yeah, fair enough. The Tigers are awful. They are absolutely. I think Coach Tim Sheen's joking about picking up 2 points when they get the bye in a couple of weeks is everything you need to know about how embarrassing this organisation is right now. I cannot believe he did that. To be making jokes after just a shocking display against Brisbane would just infuriate me if I was a West Tigers fan. And look, there's no light at the end of the tunnel as long as he's in charge. He just doesn't know how to win games in the NRL in 2023. He's long past it. They need to figure this out because it's very rare that progression plans work as far as a coaching structure goes. Benji's probably not ready equally. So there are major issues at board level with the CEO, Justin Pascoe, as well. And look, the long and the short of it is, we mentioned this last week, but they've got themselves a really good forward pack on paper. And Tim Sheens just doesn't know how to use it. He doesn't know how to build a game plan around it. He doesn't know how to maximise Stefano Utoikamanu, who's just an absolute wrecking ball. He could be Payne Haas 2.0 if the coaching staff figured him out properly. You got Api Coruscant and one of the craftiest hookers around the ruck, playing in a team that just goes side to side and doesn't understand go forward. John Bateman must be going, what the hell am I doing back out on Australian soil, playing with this? Luke Brooks is, what do we say about Luke Brooks? There are just so many issues at the West Tigers. Adam Dewey, who they've moved back to fullback after he was really good as a 5'8" last year, he might be playing worse than Luke Brooks right now. This is a long-winded way of saying take the Parramatta Eels minus the 12 at TopSport, $1.95, full stop.
Yeah, I just found that game from last year. The Tigers had a 20.5 start and won 21-20 at CommBank Stadium in this exact game last year. But the West Tigers against the Line this year have only covered once. As I said, they lost their last 10. I didn't mind the Parramatta Eels minus 13.5 and over 44.5 points because I still think there'll be a couple of junk time tries, but it could be something that's like 36-12 and it's never absolutely in doubt, but we easily cover, and that is $3.30.
Important for the Eels as well to put out a good performance because at the end of the day, they've had a tough start to the year. They have only chalked up the one win. Great win over the Panthers a couple of Thursdays ago. But the Eels, they've played 3 straight contenders coming off their bye on the Thursday night. Now they get the full week and a half turnaround heading into this game. So they kind of just get to take stock, accept what's happened across that first 5 weekends, and just refresh, regenerate. I'm sure that Brad Arthur's given them a couple of days just away from the club just to sort of reset their mindset. Now they get to go again for this second half of the season heading into Origin period. And I think they can score 40 plus in this game and just put a really good foot forward.
So it'd be good for them to get a win, obviously this weekend and then next weekend against Canterbury before they take on the Broncos. They want to go into that with a full head of momentum because that should be a ripping game. But that's all the games done and dusted for this weekend. What would your best bet for the weekend be, Phil?
I think it has to be the Warriors minus 1.5 at Ladbrokes, $1.96. I'll throw in a couple of bonus ones. I like the Roosters to kick off round 6 on Thursday night. Just to win straight up, $2.16 on BetR. So, that's where I'd be leaning. And my absolute long shot for this weekend is if you jump on BetR, because I had a look around at all the markets for the Masters
here we go.
At Augusta National in Georgia. It's one of my favorite sporting events on the calendar each and every year, and probably top 5 in terms of a bucket list event that I want to get along to
100%.
one day with my old man, just because I think he would absolutely love it as well. But look, there is an Aussie in this field that can absolutely end Australia's 10-year drought in terms of winning the Masters, because it is now the 10-year anniversary since Adam Scott got it done. And no, I'm not referring to the guy that's on the putt-putt in shorts tour. I'm referring to Min Woo Lee at odds of 71 to 1 on BetR. This is a guy that was in the final group at the Players' Championship 3 weekends ago with Scotty Scheffler. He could have gone on to win that event. He didn't, because Scheffler's just in another stratosphere right now. But Min Woo Lee equaled a course record 6 under par for the front 9 on the 4th day of the Masters at Augusta National last year. He can play the lights out on this course. He's in ripping form, and at 71 to 1, chuck a little something on it. I genuinely think that Min Woo Lee can win the Masters this year.
You've genuinely stolen my thunder, because one of my bets for tomorrow's show, I was going to look around all the markets and be like, top Australian finisher is going to be Min Woo Lee, given how he did play last year. But I've just had a quick look at Bet365. There's group betting. If you have a look around, Min Woo Lee is $4.50 in a group that includes Shane Lowry, Tyrell Hatton, Patrick Reed, and Justin Rose. That is an absolute bet there as well. But check out CodeBet. I'm sure we'll be doing a Masters preview there. But I've got to quickly ask you, Tottenham take on Brighton, your boys, this weekend. They come off a win on Wednesday morning. How do you feel going to Tottenham this weekend?
It's such a massive game, and what gives me a little bit of probably biased confidence is the fact that this morning against Bournemouth, that was our flat, disinterested performance where we knew that it was 3 games in 8 days. We got the draw coming back from a goal down 3 times against Brentford last week. But
what a game.
Yeah, it was crazy. But the fact that we've been able to come out of that 2-game stretch with 4 points, knowing full well that this Tottenham game was just around the corner. We're 4 points away from Tottenham and Manchester United. So obviously we know what's at stake this weekend. And I think their energy and their effort this morning tells me that they've just had this Tottenham game in the back of their minds for some time. Minor fitness concerns around Moises Caicedo and Alexis McAllister, though, that seem to have some niggling issues. this morning at various stages through the game against Bournemouth. So definitely check that, because they're going to be crucial to Brighton's chances this weekend. But it was good to see up front Evan Ferguson get himself on the score sheet after he missed the weekend's game with a minor fitness complaint coming out of the national window. But no, I think, honestly, I think Brighton can win this game, because Tottenham, they are at 6s and 7s right now. I think there's some bad juju heading the way of Harry Kane.
Yep.
After what happened last weekend, like that challenge that cost one of the Everton players a red card in the end. I mean, it was sloppy from him as well, but Harry Kane, pull your socks up. What are you doing? Lazy challenge, and then acting like an absolute imbecile. I think Brighton gets it done this week against a team that doesn't know what's going on at coaching level. So, yeah, now is a good time to get Tottenham.
Yeah, spoiler alert, I will be tipping Brighton. I have tipped them in the paper tomorrow. Brighton went to Tottenham last year and got the job done 1-0, and none of Tottenham's last 24 games have been drawn. So they either win or lose. Take Brighton at the $2.60 available. But that'll be in the EPL show, which comes up tomorrow. I think Gerald will be posting that one on Thursday for us, but that is done and dusted here for the Rugby League Code Bet Daily for this week. We'll be back on deck next week to rip through round 7. How are we already this deep into the season? The year's going away, they say, quickly. I think my grandma will be into me about that soon. But thanks for joining us here today, Phil.
Thank you very much, mate. Always a pleasure. Looking forward to seeing what Vince McMahon concocts now that he's back in charge of creative on Raw. I know that's really got your blood boiling after the Endeavour takeover of the WWE. And how's his moustache, by the way?
Oh, it's great. He looks like Adolf Hitler. It's awesome. I think it's fantastic. I was going to try and get away with avoiding talking about Cody. I sat on my couch for 15 minutes after the main event ended, just empty. Like it was like, I've invested all this time and emotion into this 3-year ride against Roman Reigns. It's finally going to happen, and it doesn't on a screwy distraction finish in the main event of WrestleMania. Get absolutely in the bin. I'm sort of very, very flat about it, and even 2 days removed after sleeping on it twice, I'm still annoyed. But that'll be when we have Code Culture Daily, when we can start betting on wrestling here at CodeBet. Thanks to Geraldinho for producing.
That's not too far away. I'm led to believe.
No, we'll have it soon if myself and Weaves get our way, because then I can put out 5,000 word soliloquies on wrestling. It's going to be fantastic by the time SummerSlam rolls around. But please subscribe to the show, like, review, and star it. We've got it on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your good podcasts. We've got the NRL, the CodeBet Daily, the AFL, the EPL, the everything else in between, plus the punters.com.au stuff that's rolling out. Day 2 of the championships this weekend. Cannot wait. As always, may your bets come in. Happy punting. Just remember, gamble responsibly. It's CodeBet Daily. Out.
Chances are you're about to lose. For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.